Welcome to Console Empires. Today I got one of my games for you. Played this on the ladder a couple weeks ago against Chowde, who previously was been featured in my last gameplay video against Gamer Night. In that one, both of those players were in the top 20 at the time. Chowde actually has climbed a bit. I think he's like number 12 now, about 1800 elo, so quite a bit higher than me here. But we might have a no spoilers different result than my previous foray against a top 10 opponent in Kravoski in the How to Learn from Your Losses video that I shared a bit before the Chowde Gamer Night matchup. In that one, Chowde went for a pretty wild strategy of a late game forward TC. So if you haven't seen that one, overall a good chaotic matchup, and Chowde's a pretty entertaining player. I wanted to share another one of his games and actually happened to match against him anyway, and this one is a pretty good one. So we both have Burgundians, super strong civilization, especially on Xbox. In my opinion, the eco bonus is just, I don't know, I think it's actually a little too strong. It was nerfed a bit back from where it used to be, but if you have the chance to greed your way into a fully boomed Burgundian economy, it can be really hard to stop, especially because they've got great gunpowder in addition to the economy and the cavalry. The cheaper stable tech, making it possible to actually get Paladin as soon as you click up to Imp, with having Cavalier early as well, is super strong. I mean, in a lot of 1v1s, Paladin's not necessarily even a reasonable option, burning up all your gold into such an expensive upgrade like that. But anyway, here with the Burgundians, that might be a possibility. So MegaRandom for this game. This is a pretty weird generation. It's sort of like halfway between Four Lakes and Baltic. I'm not sure if there's actually a standard map that looks like this, where you've got the one pond in the center as well as some corner ponds. So looking here across the middle, there are some skinny areas of the land terrain where we could have actually both just walled. And that's not what happens. Neither of us wall. I don't like to wall. I assume Chowde does not either, as he's typically a pretty aggressive player, as we see him pushing in his deer here. On my end, I end up just going for a mill on the deer, which on MegaRandom I do a lot because there's typically a bunch of deer, where on a normal spawn, if there's just like 3, it's not always worth it unless you're Japanese to get the cheaper mill. But yeah, so Chowde's pushing the deer in here, and that's part of why I've got a score lead at this point, because I've been out scouting a bit more. We have the same villager population, and he is actually at this point a few seconds ahead of me as far as idle time. If you pay attention to that indicator there in the bottom left, see he's up to 15 now, and I'm just a few seconds behind, maybe half a villager there. So Chowde in with a bit of a lead, starting this one off, despite what the score would tell you, as I'm going for a dock here in the center. So Burgundians, they have a pretty decent dock, at least starting off. They get the first set of ship upgrades and can get gill nets early, which I think I actually forget to get. There's not a ton of fish in the pond, so I do make a couple fishing ships, but like I said, I think we'll try and keep an eye out for if that pops up, but I believe that I forget that upgrade, at least until after the fish have run out, when it then wouldn't be worth getting, of course. But in the later stages of the game on water, the Burgundians are missing a couple of the Imperial techs. So their water falls off a bit, starts off decent, and then gets a little bit weaker on water if the game goes long. So Chowde's still working on his deer over here, has sent some villagers over to berries as well. Interestingly is collecting the geese over by the mill, and it's adding in a second lumber camp over here on his west side, starting to house wall between those 2 wood lines there on the side, still open on the front. Most of the time players, even if they're wallers, won't be walling super heavily, at least still in the Dark Age. Sometimes you do see players, sometimes with Burgundians, maybe you want to try to even go with like Drush FC, and you see a few villagers committed to walling early. I've got just small walling here around my wood, as we have some unfortunate pathing as this lady's trying to go chop on the far side of the forest with a scenic corner office view looking off into the void. But I'm starting to build the line of houses there to sort of be a funnel, protecting the wood line to force any raids to have to dive under the TC. And on some stragglers there as well. I think I was trying to make sure I had enough wood to make another ship rather than dropping a lumber camp right away. So it looks like the deer push did not go great over here, as we've got the villagers still long distancing it, so the scouting time consumed to not necessarily get the efficient food from the hunt. And as Burgundians here, we don't have any bonuses to help make up for that or offset the lack of efficiency there with the deer. Like if we were maybe Berbers to move faster or Mongols to get harvesting from the hunt faster, even Goths getting more out of the hunt. All right, so looks like Chowde was on the way up there. I'm still making a fishing ship, don't quite have my food yet. And am ahead with 30 to 23 in population right now because of the dock. So Chowde hasn't docked yet, and I've got a good lead as we advance to Feudal Age at the start of the game here. So there's my mill over there on the deer, as I had mentioned earlier, and it looks like Chowde's got a barracks coming up and going to gold already. I haven't scouted his base yet, as he's coming across here to look for me. So looking at my side, I've got a whole bunch of the map explored, but haven't been looking at the scout yet. So at this point, it looks like I have seen a couple of his resources, and I'm trying to find a dock. I assume that there's multiple ponds here, that he's got to have a dock somewhere, so you can see my waypoints going up around the shoreline there and then doubling back to take a look in his base. And I'm not going to find a dock because there isn't one. And it looks like there actually is more fish in that pond than either of the other two. So neither of us end up fishing in this game in either of those smaller ponds on the side. So I end up just taking all the fish in the center. And that's kind of all that happens on water. I was expecting more of a water fight. As you see, I've got the second dock there ready to produce some fire ships as I reach Feudal Age 2nd. Here, still with a villager lead. Well, the fishing ships count as villagers in the spectator UI, at least on Xbox. So got a bunch on gold here, trying to get the fire ships out. Didn't get the bit axe early in Dark Age, as some players might do with Burgundians. I do try to get as many of the early techs as possible, and even usually actually get crop rotation with Burgundians, as I sometimes will skip that one with other civs, as when that becomes available, there's other upgrades that you want to prioritize. So I do see the double range here with the scout. And that actually surprised me a bit, as like I had mentioned, I didn't realize the skinny platforms across the middle. Neither of us actually go for a wall there, but the general area around each of our base is fairly wallable between the tree lines. So I was expecting to be attacked earlier or to fight for water, and seeing the double range here but no attack yet, I decided I was just going to make a few skirmishers and go to Castle Age, because you can see from the fish I've got a whole bunch of food already. So I plop down the one range, start getting some skirms out. You see the funnel wall around my wood is set up, and I'm continuing to wall there in front of my gold, leaving the front of the base open. There's unfortunately a hill there, so maybe should have walled that, but I've got a couple fires out looking for some damage, still thinking there must be a dock somewhere. But the dock never came. All right, so check out this wall over here. Chowde's got all these houses coming up connecting his wood lines, so it would normally be a decent wall given what he scouted, but he's blocking out that gold, and also had a shorter wall available to just wall from the wood line over to the water. And so we've got 8 archers now moving out. He does have fletching already and has got the armor coming in for those guys as well. I guess we're not quite moving out, just grouping those guys up. So still on berries there for Chowde, as my fish is getting a bit less efficient with the ship sailing to the further side of the pond, as my deer is just now running out on that further mill. And there go the archers. So my scout's still just kind of checking out the back of Chowde's base, so I know a little bit what's going on, that seeing what's open. I'm trying to get back out over here, taking a look at where I might attack coming up in our next age. So this fire ship turns out not to be a waste. It actually alerts me to the archers coming before they get there, as one of them did shoot back. So I got a a bell and had a heads up that the attack was on the way. So at this point, I still have the eco lead, 37 to 34, again, thanks to the fishing ships. Chowde's got a bigger army than me, though. So I've just got 8 military compared to his 14, and remember, several of my military units are actually fire ships, and my skirms don't have armor yet, so a bit unprepared on my side for the raid, even though I knew it was coming, seeing the archery ranges and the fire ship alerting me to the inbound attack, as Chowde's archers take the hill here against my skirms. And still just now getting horse collar, which I guess I decided to not spend anything to just go up to a castle. So a bit of a deviation from the typical plan with Burgundians to get all those upgrades as early as you can. So the archers are in. So far, I'm only taking losses on my skirms. So no villager kills yet for either of us, and I'm just about to Castle Age as the attack comes in here. Unfortunately, don't have enough skirmishers ready and get pushed off of my gold here, so it'll be limited in how many knights I can make when that comes in. And that quick flick there with the camera, I was realizing watching the replay that I could have gone for it like a trap, thrown a gate up there between my gold, and if you dove on that second gold, maybe could have trapped him back there again as well. So the archer's still headed around looking for some value. He's not gotten a villager kill yet. There goes the first one. So I've lost 2 skirms and a vill to this raid, but am in Castle Age now. I've got a couple knights created and more skirmishers in my queue, just waiting for a big enough army here that I feel like I can confidently clear up those archers. And you can see still have a bit of a score lead, 300 points at this point. But given that I was, idle to research Castle Age, I've given up my eco advantage. It's now 40 to 39 in Chowde's favor. So here we go with the fight. The knights in front, trying to micro back here and keep these archers alive as long as possible, but a heroic effort that will ultimately fail. I'm going to lose one, maybe both of these knights, but this will be a clear up for me. So military size has swung with that fight. Now I've got the numbers advantage there. Was behind previously. Now I'm ahead by 3 units, and we're still just about tied in eco, 40 to 40. As I've been idling my TC a bit, dealing with the rush there from Chowde's archers, trying to make sure that I was getting the knights out to deal with it. Although I do have plenty of food, I could have also been making villagers as well, even maybe added in another TC already. All right, so Chowde has just now clicked up, so I'm going to have a minute or two here to maybe get some damage in with the couple knights that, well, only one was left from that first engagement, but I was completing some more, as Chowde is remembering to get his early eco techs, still in Feudal Age getting gold shaft mining now. So attack move into the house, like knock, knock, open up. There actually is a hole there that I have not found yet. So a whole bunch of farms for Chowde at this point. And it looks like he's thinking of switching into Cav as well, as we've got the armor upgrades coming in. So my units do find the hole, get a kill on the wood line there. So I am a huge lead in KD, 11 to 4 at this point from the clear up on the Feudal Age army. Have only just gotten a villager kill or 2 from this raid, as I just sent the the knight and the scout in to just get some harassment. Didn't wait to build up a big army. So moving the skirms over here to kind of camp over by the ranges to maybe snipe any stray units that would be trickling out, as I let the Cav try to harass hit and run a bit in the farming eco from Chowde, thinking maybe I can get a pick here on this villager walling, but I'm low HP on both of these guys. The spearman is gonna win as the villager gets away, and my scout is gonna not go down to the archers. All right, so fighting uphill here with the skirms, trying to move laterally there, dodge some shots. And sorry, so Chowde's right into the knight production as soon as he hits castle. So this is a bit of a mirror of the moment in my base a second ago, where we've got a bit of raid being dealt with by knights coming out. So he remembers to get Cavalier right away, important with the Burgundians. That is something that I forget to do until a bit later. We'll see Chowde raiding me with Cavalier, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I should maybe do that. That was my whole game plan going into the game, was to get Castle Age and make early Cavalier. Contagious, the woodline pathing issues, as Chowde Lumberjack there suffering the same issues as my villager that we talked about earlier. So I'm just on the 2 stables, don't have quite as many farms either. Chowde is on 3, as there's that Cavalier upgrade. He's just got +1 defense. At this point, I think I have 2 upgrades. Let's see if I, so Chowde Scout goes down there by the fish, and yeah, so I've got +2 armor and forging, so I've got more blacksmith upgrades, but of course forgot to click Cavalier. And that's gonna make a pretty big difference. Chowde trying to reestablish a wall here in front of the houses where I broke in before. Not even really broken, I guess, snuck in through the side yard there between the cottages. And bad fight for me as I'm outnumbered and out-teched. So husbandry, forging, and +2 armor in the queue for Chowde now. So in just a moment here, he's gonna have a huge advantage as far as military power. I've still got the score lead though, despite that. So second TC coming up there on the back for Chowde. And my favorite fire ship there is again doing some work as a mobile outpost, letting me know what is coming along the shoreline there. So I'm on 3 TCs already, going for maybe a bit of a greedy approach, but that is kind of how you're supposed to play Burgundians. At the beginning of Castle, I realized that I was idling and focusing on dealing with those raids, making a couple knights, and think, oh man, I gotta get some TCs out and make up for lost time here, but then no Cavalier, not enough knights, and I'm getting shreked in this engagement as the TC fire against Cavalier with chain barding is not gonna kill them super fast, as I take a ton of losses there, and I'm having to garrison 2 of my TCs and losing all of these stone miners. At this point, I actually thought that I had lost the game, and there's Cavalier in my queue, like, oh man, that's a pretty good attack. I should maybe think about doing that. So despite all that though, the KD overall is pretty even, 30 to 28, and I've actually got a villager lead still, as I was able to get those 3 TCs working for longer before that attack. So even with that huge raid, I've still actually got the advantage, as Chowde's continuing to run around here with a few stray Cavaliers. This is a really good play, pulling my army away, but still leaving a few behind to get some harassment in while my attention is elsewhere, as he gets the villager pick there on that farmer. That you can see my excellent T90 inspired farm placement, as they're just kind of all over the place when I've got open real estate in front of the TC. So there's Cavalier for me, and I added in pikemen as well. So from here, my plan has shifted a little bit, that I was, well, not wanting to make pikes at all, just wanted to go for the Cavalier play. I wanted to make just enough Cavalier to survive, essentially, into a more boomy approach to the game here, as this map was fairly closed. And this guy, I didn't find him for a while. The gray on gray there was a bit making it tricky to see, and was hearing an archer shooting something and like looking around for, like, what is that? And eventually do find that archer attacking my monastery and kill him, but it's a while from now. All right, so there's Chowde's 3rd TC going up over there on the gold. I like that spot better than his his 2nd TC just being a farm TC. And so at this point, Chowde's taking out my docks, but the fish is pretty much all gone. So I don't bother fighting back or moving my galleys over, trying to repair the docks. I maybe could have made a demo just to get some damage in on the Cavalier, but my thought process in the moment was like, oh shit, he's back in my eco again. I don't need to worry about these docks right now when the fish are almost gone anyway. So here come the Cavalier looking for some more damage in that same area. The stone mine is actually depleted now, so lucky for me, I do lose one, as I say, talk about my luck. So villagers continuing to go down under the garrisoned TC. Did have a castle going up in the north of my base, and I'm gonna add in a couple Custilier here in a moment. All right, so right here, I make kind of a dumb decision and think, oh, there's just one, and I've got a Cavalier there too. He's not going to do too much more damage. I don't need to try to get those villagers out of the way and then lose like 3. So Chowde does have the advantage in kills now, as the series of raids here has been really hectic in my base. I've had trouble dealing with all of that. Have been trying to get in some counterattack damage, but not been able to find a tremendous value, as I haven't gotten into his base to actually kill villagers. We've been fighting in my base and skirmishing like this in the neutral territory. 6 HP, man, come on. Alright, so big fight back in my base. I finally get a good engagement, as what is going on with that Cavalier on the left? He's doing the happy dance there for winning the battle. Alright, so my docks are gone. I actually just select all these fishing ships and delete them when I realize that they're idle. When it's like, when I tap the idle villager and get a ship, sometimes I'm just like, whatever, and just skip past it. And that happens a few times, and I eventually realize it. And I guess it just happened there off camera that I deleted the fishing ships. Perfectly timed pro tier casting for you guys with that. All right, so I got a just a pike in my queue right now. Chowde's moved to the gold outside the base, kind of blocked off by his houses. Got some ConsoleAOE now coming out. Also, still no villagers for me at the moment. I guess satisfied with 66. Got a monk in the queue, still not a villager. Maybe you're going to be just passing here as we're setting the Cavalier on opposite sides of the forest. And it looks like I do see him, or at least the attack move. Saw him, and there's my villagers in the queue. I'm chasing here with these Cavalier and the pikes. Chowde's just running away from me. Looks like I might not have husbandry yet, as he's able to get away. Stops to take the hill, but I think I win this fight anyway with the pikes involved. As we've both got the same upgrades here. We've got a +2 attack, +2 defense. Chowde's got the hill, but does have to run away, losing the engagement there, as I've got the pikeman and even the snow leopard helping out with the battle there as we head in towards the stone here on the side of Chowde's base, where check that out. See the one Cavalier that was up there raiding while the main battle was going on. Pulled a play there from Chowde's book. Got revenge for those farmers going down on my mill earlier in the game, as the army regroups here and continues to pick off some villagers. And all right, Chowde's trying to panic down a castle now as I'm starting to move in, as he's totally open on this side despite having walled up the rest of his base, as we're going to see a switch into infantry. So maybe again another inversion of my thought process earlier, where I realized that I forgot Cavalier when his Cavalier were so effective that he perhaps is thinking, oh man, those pikes really turned the fight. Let me make some of those. He actually goes longsword, which I was kind of confused by. I wasn't expecting it. Maybe that was the play of trying to do something that I wouldn't expect, but Burgundians get a massive gunpowder bonus with 25% additional attack. So going infantry against Burgundians in the late game is not typically going to work out, as I've got the next infantry armor on the way there for my pikes, and raiding on the gold over here with ConsoleAOE, this area that, again, these guys are blocked off. They can't even run back to the TC for safety with the house wall, so anti-wall going on there is keeping me out now, preventing some immediate damage on the wood line. Oh, just kidding. So this is completely open over here, over chop, and getting in here with the ConsoleAOE to get my revenge here, as I took some huge losses on my wood line just a few minutes ago. So I've got a bunch more pikes in my queue, a couple more cav, adding in squires now, as I realized that I was getting outrun in that last fight. So queue's looking better for me now than it has been at earlier stages in the game. I've got my TCs and production buildings all churning out units right now, which is what you want, as that's not always been the case for me throughout the earlier stages of the game, when I was panicking trying to deal with the Cavalier everywhere. So super satisfying now, as Town Bell getting some big eco damage in now. 114 to 70 on the KD in my favor, as I had been struggling in this game up until this point, and now am in a fairly commanding position with a big eco lead as well. I've got about twice the number of villagers and more than twice the amount of military. Of course, neither of us know this at this stage. So taking a look back at what I've got going on at home, still producing out of just 2 stables. It looks like I've got a ton of wood. I could be plopping down a few more of those a bit sooner. That is something I do once we get into Imperial Age, but is not something I had on my mind at the moment. So I've just got the pikes at home, grabbed a couple relics here with the monks. I didn't actually go for any conversions. When I initially plopped the monastery down when the Cavalier were tearing up my eco earlier, I was hoping to get some conversions, but ended up just making the monk, forgetting about him in the chaos, and then thinking, oh, well, I got him, might as well grab a couple of these relics. So there's the longswords in for Chowde, as he's producing those from 3 barracks now. It's going to go longsword pike, sending those across from the other side, maybe trying to evade the fire ship sentry that has given away the attack coming on the west side of the map. We're going to go around on the east this time. So back on the forward stone again. Looks like, well, he doesn't have the stone to make another castle yet. That area could use some more protection. That's where I got some value in earlier. And so I kind of make a weird house wall over there by the lake, and don't end up fishing there. Neither of us take either of the side lakes. And there's the stables on the front going up. So I'm thinking that we're going to ramp up production as we get into Imp. But I'm kind of low on gold right now. Should maybe have moved some of my wood economy to gold at this point. But still producing villagers and Cavalier. Looks like my villager was fighting with some of the wildlife there, as one Cavalier coming forward to scout. So this is a technique that I should do more. I recently lost a game where I was playing Britons and sent my whole army of crossbows just attack moving towards where I knew a wood line was from a previous raid, and surprise, there was a castle there now, and I lost all of those crossbows, leading ultimately to losing the game to the subsequent counterattack. So forward castle here, more stables coming up, getting conscription and Burgundian vineyards. I really like that tech. Getting a trickle of gold there from your farms pairs well with their bonus on the relics. So 2 sources in the late game of a slow amount of golden food, little baby feitoria kind of action. All right, so my pikemen are not going to do it here. They're just going to let me know. Well, maybe not, because it looks like that was a move click, not an attack move. All right, there we go. So now I know what's happening. So convenient. He actually could have killed a handful of my pikes had he attacked them with the longswords before meeting the larger force here. And Paladin on the way in for me as well now, something that I don't usually get in 1v1, but with the Burgundians you get, of course, you can access it earlier without having to get Cavalier in Imperial Age before that as well. But the stable technologies are hugely discounted for the Burgundians. You get 50% off, so it's a lot more achievable to get Paladin as soon as you get to Imperial Age. Get a pretty massive power spike there. So huge clear up for me. The longswords do no damage, just walking into the meat grinder there with the choke point between my buildings. All my pikes go down, but trash units, whatever. The Cavalier clear that up before the Paladin upgrade comes in. So still continuing to produce those guys, adding in a Treb now. And here we go, finally moving my army out. Was playing kind of defensively for a bit there, not realizing how much of a lead I had in late castle. Decided to just keep my army at home, keep booming up a bit, but moving out now. Stopped, I got my rally point there in front of the gate, not doing much damage, well, none at all at this point yet, but Chowde is producing longswords still, and is on his way to Imperial as well. I think, he could see me there while I was waiting to attack. All right, so here we go with the Paladin in on the gate. Palisade gate not going to hold. Gate melts here, and I'm not watching to send these guys in through the hole, just letting them do their thing. As we've got 5 barracks pike production. Pike's not going to do it against Paladin with upgrades. So are we gonna, so I'm still not looking, just letting the Paladin attack the houses. I've got apparently something more interesting to look at in my base right now, not seizing my moment here where its base is wide open, ready to attack, and my army is now idle. So Chowde's got 25 pikes. Well, not all pikes. It's still making the longswords. Well, I guess only making pikes, but still has some leftover longswords. All right, here we go. Sending in the Cav. So garrison from Chowde, no town bell. There's the town bell. Here comes the longswords and pikes as the paladin run rampant through the farmland. And there's Imperial for Chowde, as I'm just about at 200 pop here. Chowde not ready to call it, despite being, well, of course, you know, you don't know in-game that you're behind by 100 pop. So Paladin continuing to mow down everything in sight here. This was super satisfying, both because like I hardly get to play Paladin as much because I've not been playing team games, but also that I was really struggling earlier on in the game. Felt like I was on the back foot, so getting to come back here and roll was an unexpected but welcome surprise. So adding in some more trebs, getting hoarding for myself, maybe unnecessary, grabbing hoardings at this point as my castles have not seen any pressure as remember the video I mentioned earlier, the the Imperial douche? Well, here it comes. We're gonna see it. See that waypoint? He's coming from my town center. Hide your bills, hide your bell. So the paladin over here intercept what turns out to have been a castle drop. So a bit less exciting, more typical to go for as you know, your kind of last ditch effort is to throw a castle up in your enemy's eco, and that can maybe grab victory from the jaws of defeat to hit you with a cliche there. As my pikemen have intercepted these villagers, and there's our GG. So that was a fun one. I enjoyed that game a lot, and so I learned something here. I did hit him with the GG back in game, but that, I guess, after the resign doesn't record that into the replay file. But yeah, so that was a good one. I enjoyed that game. Had the good back and forth. Was like hyped to get the win. This is actually the first time I've managed to beat a really high rated player. For the most part, if I get someone, you know, who's around my rank, it's a pretty good game. But if I get someone who's, you know, top 20 or higher, I kind of go into it expecting to lose that one. All right, so let's take a quick look at our stats here before we wrap this one up. So our final total in kills, 252 to 119, and a larger army on my side as well. As far as resources collected, let's check that out. As far as food and gold, fairly similar resource totals, but big advantage in wood and stone. As you see, Chowde beat me to the Feudal Age, but was slower to the later ages, and this map had a lot of relics. I didn't actually go forward and steal any of his, but managed to get 5 just of what was on my side of the map. And like, check out all the ups and downs. That's a fun timeline. I much more enjoy that style of game than the kind of hockey stick chart that you sort of see, the tsunami timeline where the wave of population just, you know, grows out of control exponentially from the player who is able to steamroll. So not what happened here. Good close game. Enjoyed that one. GG again to you, Chowde, and hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next week.